You wake up tired. Not because your body is weak, but because your mind has been running all night. One thought, then another. One memory, one fear, one imaginary conversation that never even happened. And little by little, your peace gets stolen by things that are not even in front of you. Listen carefully, because this can change the way you live from this moment on. The life you want is not hiding in some perfect future. The calm you want is not waiting for you after one more achievement, one more relationship, one more breakthrough. It is here, right now, but you cannot feel it while your mind keeps dragging you somewhere else. So for the next few minutes, stay with me. Really stay. Because once you see this clearly, you will not be able to unsee it. And that is when everything begins to change. Let me ask you something in this exact moment. Are you really here? Or is part of you already somewhere else, thinking about later, replaying yesterday, worrying about next week, holding on to something someone said, or trying to control something that has not even happened yet? Be honest. Where is your attention right now? Because the answer to that question tells you a lot about the quality of your life. This is what happens to most people without them even noticing. They are alive but not fully living. They are moving but not truly arriving. They are breathing but not really feeling life as it happens. The body is here but the mind is somewhere far away, lost in old stories, future fears, endless planning, endless judging, endless noise. And the strange part is that this feels normal. People walk while thinking about 5 other things. People eat without tasting. People listen without hearing. People sit with family while their mind is trapped inside work, stress, regret, comparison, pressure. They go through the day on automatic mode and then wonder why life feels flat, heavy, and empty. Stay with this because this is important. The problem is not that life is always hard. The problem is that the mind keeps pulling you away from the only place where life is actually happening. Right here, right now. This moment is the only one that is real. Yesterday is memory. Tomorrow is imagination. But most people give almost all of their energy to memory and imagination, then wonder why peace feels so far away. It feels far away because they are far away from themselves. They are living inside mental noise instead of living inside reality, and slowly, without even seeing it, they miss their own life while trying to think their way into a better one. Look at your own day for a second. How much of it do you spend fully present, not planning, not rehearsing, not worrying, not comparing, not replaying, just here, just aware, just alive inside the moment itself? For many people, the honest answer is almost never. Maybe for a few seconds when something shocking happens. Maybe when they hear sudden bad news. Maybe when they see a beautiful sky and it catches them off guard. Maybe when pain or joy pulls them into the now for a brief moment. But then the mind starts again. It comments, it judges, it explains, it predicts, it builds stories, and the direct experience is gone. This is not a small issue. This is where so much suffering begins. Anxiety grows here. Anger grows here. Shame grows here. Regret grows here. The mind takes what is simple and turns it into something heavy. Something repeats in your head and becomes bigger than the thing itself. A moment passes, but the mind keeps it alive. A future is unknown, but the mind fills it with danger. A small problem appears, and the mind turns it into identity, into fear, into a whole personal crisis. That is why people feel exhausted even when nothing dramatic is happening right now. They are carrying mental weight all day long. And most of that weight is not reality. It is thought, it is story, it is resistance. It is the mind creating more pain than the moment itself ever asked for. Think about how this works in ordinary life. Something small happens, you stub your toe. There is pain for a few seconds. That is real. But then the mind jumps in. Why am I always so careless? Great, now the whole day is ruined. What if it is worse than I think? What if this messes up everything I planned? The body felt pain for a moment, but the mind keeps the suffering going. Or someone says something critical at work. The words land. It stings. That part is natural. But then the replay begins. You hear the tone again and again. You think of what you should have said. You build a whole story about what they think of you, what it means for your future, what it says about your worth. Maybe the real moment lasted 2 minutes, but the suffering lasts 2 days, sometimes 2 weeks, sometimes years. This is how people suffer again and again from one event that already ended. The same thing happens with mistakes. You say the wrong thing, forget something, miss a chance, look awkward for one moment, the event passes, life moves. But the mind holds it like evidence, evidence that you are not enough, evidence that you always ruin things, evidence that something is wrong with you. And once that story starts, you stop seeing the moment clearly. You start seeing everything through the story. That is how a passing moment becomes a prison. Not because life made it one, but because the mind kept building walls around it. The mind itself is not the enemy. Thinking is useful. It helps you learn, plan, build, solve, protect, create. It is a powerful tool. The problem begins when the tool never turns off. The problem begins when thought becomes constant, automatic, and unconscious. Then instead of serving you, it starts controlling you. The mind was built to look for danger. It scans, it compares, it predicts, it prepares. Long ago, that helped humans survive. But now the same system reacts to emails, awkward silences, bills, opinions, and uncertainty as if survival itself is under attack. A simple message from your boss can feel like a threat. A delay in someone replying can feel like rejection. A small pain in the body can become a disaster in your imagination. And the mind does not stop there. If there is no clear problem, it will invent one. It will go into the past and pull up something embarrassing. It will jump into the future and create 10 worst-case scenarios. It will ask, what if I fail? What if I lose this? What if they leave? What if I end up alone? What if I am making the wrong choice? What if I never become who I want to be? One thought leads to another and another. And soon your whole inner world feels dangerous even when the room around you is quiet. Watch this carefully, because this is where power returns to you. Just because a thought appears does not mean it is true. Just because the mind says something loudly does not mean you must follow it. This is the shift that changes everything. You are not the voice in your head. You are the one who hears it. You are not every thought that passes through your mind. You are the awareness that notices the thought. This may sound simple, but if you really see it, your whole relationship with yourself changes. Because if you can observe a thought, then you cannot be the thought itself. If you can notice anxiety, then there is something in you deeper than anxiety. If you can watch anger rise, peak and pass, then there is something in you that is not the anger. The observer and the thing observed are not the same. But most people forget this. They hear a thought and instantly become it. The mind says, you are failing, and they believe it. The mind says, something bad is coming, and they start living in fear. The mind says, you are not enough, and they build a whole identity around that sentence. Imagine sitting in a theater, watching a movie, and becoming so absorbed that you forget you are in a seat. You cry, panic, tense up, and react as if the screen is your whole reality. This is how people live with thought. They get lost in the movie of the mind and forget the quiet presence watching it all. But once you remember that you are the awareness, not the mental movie, a space opens. And in that space, freedom enters. Not because thoughts stop forever, but because you stop being owned by every thought that appears. When that space opens, something powerful becomes possible. You can notice a fearful thought without obeying it. You can notice a harsh thought without building your identity around it. You can notice a sad story rising in the mind and let it move through instead of feeding it all day. Thoughts become more like weather passing through the sky. Some are dark, some are loud, some are fast, some are repetitive. But the sky itself remains open. The sky does not become the storm. In the same way, awareness does not become the thought. This is real inner freedom, not control over every thought. That is not the point. Thoughts may still come. Old patterns may still come. Fear may still knock on the door. But you do not have to invite every thought in and let it run your house. You can pause, you can breathe, you can watch, you can say, there is worry, there is anger, there is self-judgment, there is a memory, there is a future fantasy. And by naming it gently, by seeing it clearly, you stop drowning in it. This does not make you passive, it makes you present. And presence gives you choice. Instead of reacting from habit, you begin responding with clarity. Instead of being dragged by old mental patterns, you begin standing in something steadier. This is not fake positivity. It is not pretending nothing hurts. It is simply refusing to add 10 extra layers of suffering to what is already here. That alone can change the quality of your entire life. So what is reality then? Reality is not what the mind keeps saying all day. Reality is what is here before the commentary starts. The feeling of your breath moving in and out right now. The weight of your body on the chair. The sound in the room. The temperature on your skin. The beating of your heart. The movement of life through this exact moment. That is real. Everything else the mind adds is interpretation. The strange thing is that when you return to reality in this direct way, life becomes simpler. Not because all problems vanish, but because you stop turning every moment into a mental battlefield. Try it now, even for a few seconds. Feel one breath come in, feel it go out. Do not change it, just notice it. Then feel your hands. Notice the contact between your body and whatever is supporting it. Listen to the nearest sound without naming it. Stay there for a moment. What happened? For that brief space, the mind had less room to drag you away. For that brief space, you were not stuck in yesterday or tomorrow. You were here. And in that here-ness, there is a quiet strength. This is why attention matters so much. Whatever gets your attention shapes your experience. If attention stays trapped inside repetitive thought, then life feels like thought. If attention returns to direct experience, life starts feeling real again. And this is where peace begins, not somewhere else, not after everything is fixed. Here, in contact with what is actually happening. Here is something most people never test deeply enough. In the present moment itself, many of the problems that torture you are not actually here. Look closely, not the story about later, not the replay from before, not the identity the mind keeps repeating. Right now, in your direct experience, what is here? A breath, a sound, a sensation. Maybe some tension in the chest, maybe some sadness, maybe some pressure. But even then, the raw moment is usually simpler than the story around it. The mind says, I cannot handle this. But the present moment says, here is one breath. The mind says, my whole life is collapsing. But the present moment says, here is a chair, a floor, a heartbeat, one thing at a time. This is not denial, this is precision. It is seeing clearly what is actually here instead of getting buried under what the mind predicts, remembers and dramatizes. And yes, there are real challenges in life. Bills, health issues, grief, hard decisions, relationship pain, uncertainty, loss. These things are real. Presence is not pretending they do not exist. Presence asks a different question. Can anything be done about this right now? If yes, do it. Take the step. Make the call. Have the talk. Write the message. Start the work. But do it here, not in panic. And if nothing can be done in this moment, then endless thinking will not solve it. It will only make you suffer before you need to. That is the trap. The mind calls worry preparation, but most of the time it is just pain repeated in advance. Take a simple situation like being stuck in traffic. The event itself is plain. You are sitting in a car that is not moving. That is the fact. But the mind hates facts without story. So it starts creating one immediately. This always happens to me. I am going to be late. They will think I do not care. This will ruin everything. Why is my life like this? My whole day is destroyed. Your body tightens, your jaw clenches, stress rises. But look closely. Much of that pain is not coming from the traffic. It is coming from the meaning the mind is attaching to it. Now imagine the same moment with presence. You notice the frustration. Good, be honest about it. But instead of feeding it with 10 more thoughts, you return to the breath. You relax your shoulders a little. You accept the plain reality. Right now, the car is not moving. You cannot force the road to open by hating it. You may still send a message if needed. You may still handle the practical part. But inside, something changes. There is less fight, less extra suffering. Maybe you notice the sky. Maybe you notice the silence. Maybe you use the moment to return to yourself instead of abandoning yourself to stress. Same traffic, different inner world. This is the difference between pain and added suffering. One belongs to life. The other is manufactured by resistance, story, and mental habit. Once you see that, daily life becomes a field of practice. Small moments become doors, and those doors are everywhere. The same applies when people judge you, disappoint you, misunderstand you, or say something that cuts deep. The first sting is human. You are not a machine. You feel it. Maybe your chest gets tight. Maybe heat rises in your face. Maybe there is hurt. That is natural. But then comes the second wave. And this is the one that drains people for years. The mind starts building a whole structure around one moment. What do they really think of me? Why am I like this? Maybe everyone sees me this way. Maybe I always ruin things. Maybe I will never be respected. Maybe I should just shut down and protect myself forever. This is how one comment becomes a whole personal prison. But presence interrupts that chain. Presence lets you feel the sting without turning it into identity. Presence lets you ask, is there something useful in this feedback? If yes, take it and grow. If no, let it pass through. Not every opinion deserves a home inside you. Not every emotion deserves a long story. Not every criticism is a mirror of your worth. Sometimes people speak from their own pain, their own pressure, their own blindness. When you live only in your head, everything becomes personal. When you live with awareness, you begin to see more clearly. You stop making every passing moment mean something final about who you are. And that is a major shift, because many people are not suffering from what happened. They are suffering from what they decided it means. Change the relationship to meaning and you change the whole experience. Something even deeper starts to happen when you stop living in constant mental noise. You begin to notice how much of your identity has been built from repeated thoughts. I am this kind of person. I am not that kind of person. I always do this. I never do that. I am broken. I am difficult. I am behind. I am the one who gets rejected. I am the one who must prove something. The mind collects a few experiences, turns them into labels, and then hands them back to you as if they are absolute truth. Then you begin living inside those labels. You act in ways that confirm them. You interpret life through them. And soon the identity feels solid. But if you really look, what is it made of? Mostly memory. Mostly repetition, mostly thought. The moment you become more present, these identities begin to loosen, because in direct awareness, there is no fixed label. There is just this living moment, this breath, this sensation, this openness. The old story may still appear, but it is no longer the whole room. It is just a voice passing through. This matters more than people realize, because many lives are quietly shaped by sentences that were never questioned. I am not lovable. I am not disciplined. I am not confident. I am too late. I am too damaged. I missed my chance. And because those sentences keep repeating, they start feeling like facts. But they are not facts. They are practiced thoughts. And what is practiced can be seen. What is seen can be loosened. What is loosened no longer has the same power to rule your future. Think about how much has changed in your life already. Your body has changed. Your age has changed. Your routines, your relationships, your opinions, your goals, your fears, your style, your priorities, all of it has shifted again and again. And yet there is something that has been here through all of it. The quiet sense of being. The awareness looking through your eyes. The presence that was there when you were a child, that was there in your teenage years, that was there in your best moments and worst moments. The content changed. The awareness remained. This is why chasing a perfect future self can be such a painful game. You keep trying to become someone acceptable to your own mind while ignoring the deeper part of you that was never lacking in the first place. This does not mean you stop growing. It means growth comes from a different place, not from inner war, not from hatred of what you are, not from the belief that you are broken and must earn the right to feel peace. Growth becomes cleaner, stronger, more natural. You still build, you still improve, you still learn, but the energy changes. It is no longer driven only by fear and insufficiency. It becomes an expression of life moving through you, not a desperate attempt to become worthy. And that changes everything. Because when your actions stop coming from panic, they become more focused, more patient, more powerful. You are no longer trying to outrun yourself. You are finally moving with yourself. This is why so many people keep achieving things and still do not feel settled. They reach the milestone, get the money, find the relationship, hit the target, improve the image, and for a moment there is relief, a quick high, a burst of satisfaction. Then the mind moves the finish line. Now it wants the next thing, and the next, and the next. It keeps saying, almost there. Just one more step and then you can rest. Just one more win and then you can feel okay. But that moment rarely comes because the mind does not know how to arrive. It only knows how to chase. So people spend years thinking peace is waiting somewhere ahead, while overlooking the only place peace can actually be touched. Here, in presence, in non-resistance, in direct contact with life as it unfolds. This does not mean you stop having ambition. It means ambition is no longer your only source of worth. It does not mean you stop dreaming. It means you stop postponing your right to breathe deeply until life matches a fantasy. There is a huge difference between creating from fullness and chasing from emptiness. One gives energy, the other drains it. One sharpens you, the other keeps you restless. One lets you move with clear eyes, the other keeps you trapped in constant self-measurement. Watch this closely in your own life. How many times has your mind promised that the next thing would finally complete you? And how many times did the feeling fade sooner than you expected? That is not failure. That is a clue. It is showing you that what you are really hungry for cannot be found where you keep searching. So how do you live this instead of just understanding it for a moment and then forgetting it tomorrow? You practice returning again and again. Not perfectly, not dramatically, just honestly. When you catch yourself lost in thought, return to the breath. When your mind starts building a catastrophe out of uncertainty, return to what is physically here. When an old memory starts flooding your body, feel your feet, slow down and come back to the room. When you notice yourself rushing through food, through conversation, through work, pause and actually be there. This is not glamorous, but it is life-changing. Presence is built in small moments, in how you wash your hands, in how you listen when someone speaks, in how you take one conscious breath before replying in anger, in how you sit with discomfort without instantly escaping into a screen, a fantasy, or another spiral of thought. These moments train you to stop abandoning yourself. And over time, that changes your nervous system, your reactions, your relationships, and the texture of your days. You begin to feel more space inside, more steadiness, more ability to stay with what is real. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you stop making every wave into proof that you are drowning. And let this really land. Presence is not something reserved for quiet mornings, spiritual moods, or perfect conditions. It is available in the middle of stress, in the middle of noise, in the middle of hard conversations, in the middle of ordinary days. In fact, that is where it matters most. There will still be pain. There will still be endings, disappointments, uncertainty, change, loss, and moments that break your heart open. Being present does not cancel the human experience. It allows you to meet it more fully, with less unnecessary suffering. When grief comes, you can grieve. When fear comes, you can feel fear without instantly turning it into a prophecy. When anger comes, you can notice it without making it your permanent identity. This is strength, real strength, not hardening, not pretending, not controlling everything. Strength is the capacity to remain awake inside your own experience, to feel deeply without becoming totally lost, to return, even after you drift. Because you will drift, everyone does. The mind will pull you, old habits will call you back. But now you know something you may have forgotten for a long time, you can come back. You can return to the breath, return to the body, return to this moment.